Another officer lifted a note from under Emily's pillow. It was her familiar crayon scribble, a picture of her standing with a tall man in a hoodie waving. But this time there was something else. Me, drawn, lying on the floor, eyes closed. "When did she draw this?" the officer asked. I shook my head. I didn't know. When they checked the hallway security footage, they found something that made my blood freeze. 4 p.m., the time Emily disappeared. Our door creaked open. Emily walked out holding the hand of a tall man in a black hoodie. No struggle, no sound. She walked like she was dreaming. The man turned to the camera. His eyes gleamed with a sharp, chilling focus, his face mostly hidden except for that cold stare. And then he waved. "My name is David, a single father." That Saturday night, it was freezing cold. My daughter and I had just returned home when I realized I had forgotten her small bag at the store. It was her favorite bag, so I went back to get it. The weather was quite cold, so I left my daughter, little Emily, at home and went alone. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary until one rainy, cold, dusky evening. Emily told me she felt sick. I touched her forehead and found it a bit warm, so I carried her to the couch, turned on the TV, and ran to the pharmacy to buy some flu medicine. The store was only a few blocks away, so I figured it'd be fine. At that moment, Emily was watching cartoons, and I told her, "Lock the door, okay? Don't open for strangers." I never imagined that one small mistake could cost me everything. I left home around 7:30 p.m. The sky was already pitch black. Light drizzle began to fall as I entered the store. I only picked up a few basic things, flu meds, juice, some cookies. It took less than 10 minutes. But on my way back, I immediately sensed something was wrong. The living room light was still on. But the curtains, which I always reminded Emily to close, were now wide open. I felt a chill in my gut. Emily would never do that. I rushed to the door. It was unlocked. I burst into the apartment, panicked, calling her name, but there was no response. The place was eerily quiet. Then I heard a small laugh, almost a whisper coming from the bedroom. I ran in. Emily was calmly sitting on the bed, hugging her teddy bear tightly. I asked, "Why didn't you lock the door? Who opened the curtains? Were you talking to someone?" She looked up and in an oddly calm voice said,
"That man told me to pull the curtains so he could see better."
I froze. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I asked again urgently, "What man?" She answered nonchalantly,
"The one standing outside the window. He said he was your friend."
I looked out the window, then turned back to her. "What else? What did he do to you?" Emily looked surprised.
"He told stories. But before he finished, you came back, so he left."
I tried to stay calm. "And did you say anything to him?"
But he said, "Next time if Daddy leaves again, I can go out to the balcony and play hide and seek with him."
I rushed to the balcony. The drizzle was still falling. And then I saw it, a wet footprint, clearly that of an adult, marked on the tiles stretching from the railing to the glass door of the bedroom. I looked across to the opposite apartment building. I saw him, 4th floor behind a large potted plant. A man was standing, wearing a dark hoodie and beanie, staring directly at me. When he realized I'd seen him, he quietly turned and stepped back into the pitch-dark unit. I immediately grabbed Emily, locked the door, and called the police. They arrived about 15 minutes later, but the apartment across on the 4th floor was completely empty. The door was locked from the outside. No one lived there. No signs of forced entry, no fingerprints. We moved a month later. But Emily still said that man still comes to play in my dreams. He wants to play hide and seek. 2 months after moving, I still couldn't sleep through the night. Every creak, every shadow flickering outside the window made my heart race. Even though I never left Emily alone again, she still said she saw him. I couldn't shake the unease. Emily seemed better, or at least I wanted to believe she was. One day while cleaning the living room, I found the small bear bag forgotten behind the bookshelf. I opened it out of curiosity. Mr. Buttons was inside. That bear had never left Emily's side, let alone been forgotten. Looking closer, I saw a small tear in the fabric at its belly. Inside was a small black device, rectangular, about the size of a thumb. It took me a few seconds to realize what it was. A GPS tracker, a mini locator, the kind used on collars, sneakers, or children's toys. I rushed to Emily's school. She was still there, safe. I forced a smile as she ran out to me, but my hands were cold, drenched in sweat. I never told anyone about the device. But that night, while I was reading Emily her bedtime story, she suddenly said, "I'm sad today." I forgot Mr. Buttons. So, the storyteller man didn't come. I swallowed hard. It felt like my heart dropped into a void. My voice trembled. You still see him?" Emily nodded innocently.
He was at the edge of the playground. But today, he just watched me and then left.
That night I didn't sleep. I scoured the internet. I researched the GPS model. It was an old military-grade model, not sold commercially, used only by special organizations or covert child surveillance networks. I tracked the chip's serial number, and what I found chilled me to the bone. The device once belonged to a 7-year-old girl who went missing in 2014 in another state. The case went cold. No body was ever found. Only one thing remained: a teddy bear. Mr. Buttons. I clicked the image. It was identical to the one in our home. So was he targeting children with that specific bear? Or was it something else? I burned the bear the next day. But Emily cried uncontrollably. From that night on, Emily began drawing pictures of the man in the hoodie standing behind a window, hand raised in a wave. She drew him in the park, on the balcony, in the bathroom mirror. Then one day, she left a drawing under my pillow. It had a single scrawled line. This time, it's Daddy's turn to play hide and seek. He told me to test if you're good at it. Terrified, I ran through the house looking for Emily. I found her at the front door, happily playing. She told me the man had just talked to her. I hugged her tightly, heart pounding. I tried to remember every toy from the bag that day. One by one, I examined them and found a small chip inside each. Panicked, I called the police. They pulled surveillance footage from the amusement area where I had forgotten Emily's bag. On review, they spotted a man in black trailing the two of us. Face hidden, hood pulled tight. The spot where the bag was left blocked, obscured. No clear footage. I was consumed by dread. The police, sensing my fear, reassured me there was no need to worry. After I turned in the GPS chips, Emily began sleeping peacefully. She stopped saying she saw the man who tells stories. I felt slightly more at ease, but I still didn't know who he was or what he wanted. Then one day I got a call from the police. The bag I had brought home wasn't Emily's. It was identical, but it had been deliberately left behind for me to pick up. On another camera angle, they saw the man in black walking in. Holding that bag, I sat in the living room lost in thought. Then I got up and went to Emily's room. She was gone. A wave of dread crashed over me. I screamed her name, ran through the house, opened every door, checked under the bed, behind the curtains. Nothing. My heart felt like it was being crushed. The faint smell of baby shampoo lingered. Her tiny pillow was still warm. I picked up my phone, hands trembling, and called the police. My voice caught in my throat. All I could manage were broken sounds. My daughter, Emily, is gone. The police arrived quickly, just like before. But this time everything was different. They searched the entire house, every inch. One officer asked, "You're certain this window was locked?" Before I nodded, trying to recall. My mind was chaos. Another officer lifted a note from under Emily's pillow. It was her familiar crayon scribble, a picture of her standing with a tall man in a hoodie waving. But this time there was something else. Me, drawn, lying on the floor, eyes closed. "When did she draw this?" the officer asked. I shook my head. I didn't know. When they checked the hallway security footage, they found something that made my blood freeze. 4 p.m., the time Emily disappeared. Our door creaked open. Emily walked out, holding the hand of a tall man in a black hoodie. No struggle, no sound. She walked like she was dreaming. The man turned to the camera. His eyes gleamed with a sharp, chilling focus, his face mostly hidden except for that cold stare. And then he waved, just like in Emily's drawings. A special task force was dispatched. They tracked the old GPS signal, weak but traceable, to an abandoned building 20 miles away. It used to be a child psychology research center shut down in 2006 after a scandal. A researcher named Ralph Madison had once been suspected of using tracking devices on children to test their reaction to storytelling hallucinations, a form of linguistic hypnosis. The case was buried when he vanished. They raided the building. In the basement, among scattered cameras, they found Emily, eyes open, unresponsive. The walls were covered in crayon drawings, dozens of empty, soulless faces. A speaker hung above her, softly broadcasting a man's gentle voice, dreamy, soothing, like a bedtime story that put the mind to sleep. They shot the speaker. Emily instantly burst into tears. She woke up like someone emerging from a nightmare. The man who took her wasn't there, but security cameras caught him watching from a distance as they rescued her. He didn't run. He didn't hide. He simply turned and walked into the forest and vanished as if he had never existed. Emily is safe, but not the same. She still draws, not of the man anymore, but of nameless rooms, half-open doors, and bags left waiting on chairs. One day she asked me, "Daddy, if I see a bag that looks like the old one, should I bring it home?" I squeezed her hand. Never. We never take back what we aren't sure is ours, Emily. Never. Some things we lose. Even if we find them again, we must inspect them very carefully. And sometimes it's better to never bring them back at all.